back.
Hey, y'all.
Listen, for a special edition. This is a very special edition, but do get ready because we are returning with That Part Podcast for our season 2. So to explain, we do seasons every year, and then each show is a series within the season. So this is our new season that's going to be jumping off. We'll give you the date. It's going to be around Juneteenth because that's when we started this. So we're going to keep that same energy going. But, you know, before we start our season 2, we had this opportunity to chop it up with our mayor. And, you know, when we get an invitation to talk to the mayor of Miami-Dade County, you know, we going to be there.
We gonna take it. We both came out of our hiatus and was like, yo, let's figure this out, coordinated. I got up early. PK, no, I don't be getting up before 1 o'clock or starting my day, but we did it because to me it was that important. And there's a important conversation around fluoride and water and health effects and things like that. And so we were like, yo, we got to hop on this. And what better place for us to have this conversation than That Part Podcast?
Absolutely. So before we get into tap in with the mayor, please don't forget to subscribe to High-Low News. All right. This is hyperlocal news. I personally get my information from High-Low News. And oh my goodness, that Can We Talk podcast where like you break down different topics and you know, you just put your personal spiel on it. I have such an appreciation for that as well. So I want to make sure you take the opportunity to subscribe to our sponsor, High-Low News. That is South Florida hyperlocal news. Of course, the president, Janey, Tate, who I have the pleasure of co-hosting the That Part Podcast with. And also make sure you tap in with Just Vote, period. This is something that I founded as a way to connect with our 16 to 45-year-old audience, get them registered to vote, keep them interested in voting, showing the importance of having their voice be heard via their vote, and doing it the sexy way, as I like to call it, or, you know, doing it the cool kid way. So, you know, that's what we do. So we definitely want you to tap in with those two. You can check out more information on Just Vote Period on our website, www.justvoteperiod.com. Definitely follow us on the gram as well. So, Janey, is that cool? You ready to get started?
We got to tell people to like and subscribe and comment to this as well. We always forget to promote.
I know, right?
Our own. Yes, like and subscribe. We had really, really good engagement. A lot of followers in season 1. As you guys know, the more followers we get on YouTube, that allows us to get to monetization. That could allow us to be able to subsidize the work that we're doing right now. This is an investment for Papa Keith and I to do this. So like, subscribe, share, and let people know to follow That Part Podcast on YouTube, so that people could see us. Also, too, it helps in the algorithm, so more people is pushed up, so more people could see it for visibility.
That Part Podcast 305.
That Part Podcast
on YouTube.
You're right, because there is another situation. So That Part Podcast 305 on YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment. Yeah, help us get those followers up. Okay, 305 hat. I want that hat.
All right, and make sure you follow us on the gram as well. That Part Podcast 305 on Instagram as well. All right, and thank you for that, Janey. So we ready to get this party started?
Yes, let's get this party started.
All right, let's do it. All right, we have our very special guest today. This is a special edition. We are doing this especially for this guest that we have today, the amazing, the Honorable Mayor Daniella Levine Cava is here with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Papa Keith. I just heard that we can call you PK.
Yes, you can.
And hi there, Janey. Thank you for having me.
That's for sure. Glad to have you. Of course, Janey, we're here to talk about a special topic. If you want to kind of give the audience a little heads up on what we'll be discussing, and we can dive right into it.
Yes, we're talking about fluoride in water. This has been a hot button issue in the county for the last couple of weeks, and you got people pro and against, and, you know, there's actually breaking news that we just learned before we hopped on about the Florida Legislature passing a bill to remove fluoride from water. So this shifts our conversation, and I really want to know, you know, PK, are you okay if we just jump right in?
Let's jump right in. Let's do it.
I want to know, Mayor Cava, what are your thoughts on this bill, like this breaking news?
So the Florida House voted within the hour to eliminate the use of fluoride as an additive to the water supply. It was already passed by the Florida Senate, so now it heads to the governor, and we know the governor does want to ban fluoride. So we expect this to become Florida law, where we've been preempted from providing this safe, natural, actually life-saving, health-preserving natural mineral to our water supply that we've had for almost 70 years and has prevented not only tooth decay, but worse dental and health problems. So I'm extremely disappointed. It ignores the overwhelming consensus by dental and medical experts based on decades of practice. And really, it's going to have long-lasting health consequences, especially for our most vulnerable families.
Wow. I'm equally as crushed. Just so you know, and with this news being so fresh right now, is there anything possible that could be done at this point, Mayor Carver, to somehow reverse it? You know, even if it's from the constituents, is that a possibility at all?
So Florida law is Florida law. The governor does have to sign it into law. I suppose he could find some reason to not, but he has been clear, and the Surgeon General has spoken around the state, urging communities to ban it at the local level. So I think we can expect the governor to sign it into law. After that, are there any kinds of legal actions? I don't know. Look, this is something that happened in water systems throughout the country after it was discovered that in Colorado, where they had naturally occurring fluoride, which, by the way, is in many water systems, but they had it at a safe level, and that cavities were greatly diminished in those places. And they studied it and discovered the reasoning was the fluoride in the water. And so places started to put it as an additive. Even right here in Miami-Dade County, we have 0.2 parts per million of naturally occurring fluoride in the water. And to get to the 0.7 million recommended level, we add that 0.5. There are other parts of Florida that I understand have higher levels. So those people with the higher fluoride in the water, guess what? They're going to have healthier teeth and healthier health outcomes.
Hold on. So this kind of well, I'll ask you this, Mayor Cava, does this change your plans? Because I know you feel the county commission's decision to remove fluoride. So how does this affect what your plans were for fluoride in water?
So this was part of our water system for all these years without any explicit approval, because we know we have safe, tasty, well-tested water, right? People rely on our drinking water. In fact, we tell people don't waste your money on bottled water because our water is the best, and it's acknowledged as such. So this was really a change when the commission voted without a committee review, without substantial input, really no input from dental experts. So it was very disappointing. That to be said, the way that we paid for it was through our water and sewer fees. So we can't use that money for dental care, right? We cannot divert those funds to take care of people with cavities or to get them to the dentist to get special fluoride treatments, which, by the way, is not the same. Topical fluoride, whether it's from toothpaste or from fluoride treatments, is very useful, but it's not the same as having it inside the tooth, which is what comes when you absorb it from the water. So we cannot use those funds for another purpose related to public education and awareness. Certainly, we can educate the public using our tools about the importance of dental hygiene. In the Black community particularly, we have twice the level of cavities as we have in white communities. So we know we have a job to do on health disparities. We need to educate people about proper flossing. We just saw a study that Florida is one of the lowest states in terms of dental hygiene. Yeah. We're the 5th in the state in terms of whether we brush twice a day, which is the recommended number of times, and whether we floss. By the way, I got religion. My advice to all young people is floss. Because that's what leads to the decay, is having the food particles that stay in between the teeth, and then they decay, and then that creates bacteria, which leads to the cavities. And by the way, the fluoride is what strengthens the teeth against those bacteria penetrating. So that's really, we're creating something that really prevents. But what can we do? We could educate, we could do outreach. There are some dental resources that we could share. We don't pay for dental care here. If you are on Medicaid or another insurance that covers dentistry, which for children on Medicaid, there is some limited dental coverage. We want people to get access to that, but most people don't have dental insurance, and most people cannot afford to go to the dentist. We had one dentist tell us it's $100 to do a filling. It's $1,500 to do a root canal if your tooth is so infected, right? If you didn't do the cavity and your tooth got infected. If you have worse problems and you have to go to the emergency room, of course, that's thousands of dollars. So we are really facing a public health crisis from the fact that we know that cavities will increase. I just want to underscore, places that removed fluoride from the water, put it back. So that was Pinellas County. Of course, now they're going to be preempted just like we are. Buffalo, New York, and Calgary in Canada. Those are 3 of the places that saw a significant increase in cavities after they took fluoride out and they put it back in.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, that was very educational and much appreciated. The irony, like 2 weeks ago, maybe even less, I went for a deep cleaning. And even at my age, the dentist had to teach me all over again the proper, way to brush my teeth, swiping down, making sure you get the gums, flossing, super important.
Right.
Most of the things you've already mentioned.
Yeah.
So with that being said, and you already explained the part of the money from the water won't be able to transfer to anything else. Maybe because of how passionate you are about it, maybe we can look into, expanding free dental care for some communities, or educating communities, through the county based on, dental care.
I appreciate that. And I am very open because I knew fluoride was a good thing. After all, we didn't have any problems with it that we knew of. There were no studies that validated the concerns at the levels we're using it. But I didn't understand how critically important it was. Those teeth are being developed under your gums. When you're an infant, before the teeth come out, the teeth are growing. And this fluoride helps the babies. And then when you're going to your adult teeth, again, they're inside the gums. And the fluoridation is what builds stronger teeth and prevents the decay. So I've become quite passionate about this. And, I've always been concerned about lack of access to dental care. Because it is so expensive and so many people don't have the means. That to be said, like you say, PK, we've got to take care of our teeth as best we can to prevent that decay. Yeah. I'm pushing water picks. I'm telling you, my dental hygienist says my teeth are great ever since I started using this water pick, because it pushes it out of in between your teeth. So it's a little bit of an investment for sure. It lasts a long time. I'm recommending it. How's that?
I have one. My daughter actually bought me one for I think Christmas or Father's Day. I can't remember. Right. And then at first I was like, I'm not using this thing. And then I picked it up and fell in love with it. I also recommend the water pick as well, because I used to have, my gums would bleed. And sometimes with the flossing, you have to be careful. If you're too rough, it can cause your gums to bleed. But I find it a lot easier and safer using the water pick.
You and I were talking from experience.
Yes.
Listen to the older folks. Take care of your teeth.
that
Yep.
part. I have a water pick as well. And I was told by the dentist, like, it's all of it. It's the brushing, it's the water pick, it's the flossing as well. And these health concerns that people are having who are for fluoride, they're valid. We have these decades of studies. However, I don't want to invalidate people's concerns who said fluoride could be a problem. And there are some studies, I don't know, how, valid they are, but just in my research and conversations with people, that the result was maybe the lower development in children that could possibly lead to autism and different things like that. So those are valid concerns why people say they're against it. Mayor
Well,
Cava, what do you say to that? Is
yes.
that
So
are these studies not true? Like where is this coming from? Because there is a growing faction of people who are like, yeah, take the fluoride out, and they're using this information as their reasoning for it. But
but
where does this come from?
who do you trust to tell you how to take care of your teeth? Dentists or politicians, right? Or TikTok. Like, where are you getting your information? So yes, there were some studies. They were based on extremely high levels of fluoride. Anything is poisonous at a high level, even water. Basically, we had a dentist say the water would kill you before the fluoride if you took that much water to get the level of fluoride that was in the study. It's extremely low. It's tested constantly in our water system. There is no evidence that at that level, people are having any ill effects whatsoever. Those studies were mostly done in overseas. There was a Mexico study, a China study. In fact, in one of the studies, they compared those high levels of fluoride, too high, to a community that had pretty much the same level we had. And the one that had the same level we had, they were doing great. So they were comparing, they were validating basically the health of the level that we're using. So that's one thing. Another thing that was said to us by the dentists and the medical experts was that the studies were not really scientifically valid. Like, there wasn't a control group. There wasn't the proper safeguards when you're doing a study to make sure it's a valid study. But people are susceptible to this because people are naturally suspicious, right? That's why talk to your dentist.
Hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
So for people who want fluoride in their water, like, of course we can't supersede state law at this point, but is there a way for you to do it individually as a household to add it? Like, if I believe in these studies and I want this in my water, is there a solution for people who want it, or is it just if you're in
Yeah.
Florida you just have to deal with this law?
Well, that's really an interesting point because we know that the brushing and the fluoride treatments, coating you might get at a dentist are good, but they're not as good as ingesting it. Um, and we put it in the whole water system and then test it around. But it's an interesting question whether you could at home, if you will, come up with some way of putting the small trace amount in the water. I have to look into that. I know that in other countries there are different ways that they do this. We've heard in one country they put it in the salt, like iodine. Like, remember, we have iodine in our salt, and nobody's saying that's poisonous, right? It's at very trace levels. So we definitely could be looking at ways that could happen, and we also, um, it's a good, and certainly public education and awareness is part of it. So thank you for that question.
That's what's
Uh,
up.
Well, listen, we want to thank you, and we were sorry to hear the breaking news. Well, I'm sorry to hear the breaking news. Like I said, I'm a bit taken back as well, as you have grown up understanding fluoride to be a positive thing, and I believe I have my healthy teeth based on the fluoride that I've been able to ingest over the years. So I'm disappointed as well.
Mm. Is there anything that you want to leave the audience with, when it comes to this? Like, what are solutions? What can they do as residents, as voters who, want fluoride? Because it kind of feels like the choice was taken away from the residents who want who may, whether you're on whatever side, like you said, like why do politicians or people, special interest group, and I'm not for or against it in any way, like I'm not advocating, but I'm like, it seemed to me this should have been a decision by the people who was going to affect, not the policy makers, and it goes from there. So what are, as if I'm someone watching this and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I want fluoride in my water, what can they do? Like what can they do at this point, Mayor Cava?
Well, you could move to someplace where they still have fluoride in the water, or where it's naturally occurring, right? So you get it without adding it because it's already in the water. Look, I want to say this. I told you, brush your teeth, good dental care, use topical fluoride. We know people can't afford those things, so we need to see if there are ways to get better access to dental preventive care and so on. But I do think that there's more like this coming down the pike. We've already had a scare about measles vaccines, and the net result of which is people have died of measles. I think we have to really be thoughtful, and I know it's hard because there's so much misinformation out, and we have to look to valid scientific sources. You know, that's why we have science to help to distill fact from fiction. And it's easy to discredit something and create fear, but we want to be smarter than that. So I hope that your listeners will think about that as new challenges to scientific norms that we have lived with. If things are unhealthy, like processed foods are unhealthy, and that is documented, right? So it's good to have politicians looking at science that may have been ignored. That to be said, that's not what happened here. So let's really be thoughtful and careful and look to the experts to guide us in our health.
How did that even, like, who decided this? Like, who woke up one day and said, let's take fluoride out of water? Who benefits from this? Because, and I don't know, maybe you can't answer that question, but to me, it's like, who we've been doing this for decades, and then somebody's like, let's just take this out. Like, who thought of this?
Well, there's been an undercurrent of some folks questioning anything that basically the government does, if you will, right? Distrusting government. There was that funny movie, Dr. Strangelove, in which I think, I don't remember if it was communism that was the result of fluoride or something like that. But look, there's a lot of really strange theories out there, and there's a lot of people that will buy into strange theories. I don't know exactly who and what, but I do think it's part of a larger effort to undermine science.
Wow.
Well said.
It's so key.
Well said. Well, listen, we want to thank you so much for your time. We know you're a busy lady. You got a whole county to run.
Yeah. In the next life, I'm coming back as a dentist. So mark my words.
or an environmentalist, because you won't talk about recycling as well. You're big on that. So
thank you.
But thank you so much, Mayor Cava, for all the work that you do. Thank you for bringing this up and making it a hot button issue and bringing attention to it, because, I mean, we wouldn't be having this conversation if it really wasn't for your passion and efforts in this fight.
Thank you for taking the time to educate the community, and we'll do what we can to make sure that we have healthy teeth and good health. Thank you.
Definitely want to echo that. And I think that's a part of the issue that we have with the community, that a lot of people in your position don't educate and give people the information. So definitely want to second what Papa Keith said, because of you taking time to break this down, you're giving people information that they need to, make the best decisions in their life. So again, thank you for coming on and sharing this.
Thank you, Janey.
Thank you. And we're good.
Thank you, Mayor Cava.
Oh my gosh. All right. We meet in better times. Thank you so much.
I know, we will.
Yeah, keep us posted, whatever we can do to, keep this information going, definitely want to share that, because at this point, this is what the solution is going to be able to get people information on how to take care of their teeth. This feels crazy that we're having this conversation in 2025.
Right.
No.
All right. Thanks so much.
All right. Take care. Thank you. Oh man, great opportunity chopping up with Mayor Daniella Levine Cava, the Miami-Dade County Mayor. It's so crazy, Janey, that originally we had all these questions to talk to her about, fluoride in the water, and then this bill gets passed within the hour of us having this interview, and it changed the whole course of our conversation.
It surely did. I think, people need to understand, like, working in media and news, like, it's constantly changing, constant information. So you just got to be on your toes and ready to have,
Right?
a conversation and have stuff in your arsenal, because I still think it was a great interview and it shifted the tone of what we were discussing. But yeah, I was like, wait, what? Like, it just, all of those questions we were prepping and
I
everything just
know.
went out the fucking window.
Down the drain with no fluoride.
Look, yo, that's hilarious. The crazy part about it is like, and I put her on the spot a little bit, but not like in a bad way, but it was kind of like, I'm like, who decided this? Who
Oh, I
benefits
love
from?
that. Yeah.
I was like, who? And I also too wanted to spark a conversation on with people, like, follow the trail, figure out, like, it's deeper than rap. And I do understand. I was talking to actually a good friend of mine who had been doing all this research into fluoride and all these other things, and these doctors out of Africa and stuff like that. And not to say that those things aren't valid, but she made a good point. Like, the people who are against fluoride in water, the levels that some of those studies are talking about were like dangerously high, and that,
Right.
like, that was the issue. It wasn't the lower levels that were actually helping people in their teeth. So to me, I feel like I'm a little bit in a twilight zone. I feel like like we're regressing a little bit.
It's so crazy because this story I have of why I'm an advocate, I guess, for fluoride, or I'm pro fluoride at this point, is I was told as a child, and it happens to be true, that people from England, from the UK, they don't have fluoride in their water. And traditionally they have bad teeth. So I have family members from England, and when they would come over, I would notice that their teeth are like not good. And then even from movies and different other things, when you would see, like, they don't have the best teeth over in London, yo.
Is this a New York thing? Because my fiance said the same thing, and he was like,
Yes, maybe it is.
maybe they teach all that in New York. And I think I started noticing it, like, but I didn't make the connection with, what? I think I saw something when I was younger and it said that, but he's always saying that. He's like, fluoride is not in the water in Europe, and that's why
Yep.
they have bad teeth. And I was just like, the sad part about it is it's going to take time before we see the effects. And unfortunately, there's going to be casualties, people who have, issues, and as she said, in low income communities, and unfortunately that's a lot of Black communities, like, they're going to see the effects of it. um I'm I'm just really, really shocked at the fact that this is like a thing. And
Yeah.
shocked in the fact of, like, I get the political landscape of Florida right now, and I know we're highly Republican and what they believe is smart law and smart policy. I'm more so shocked at us as a society
Yeah.
that this is what we're doing with science. And, to Mayor Cava's point about measles, like, it was, and then people started dying and getting sick from measles. And it's like, I get I get why people have conspiracies, but I'm a science person, so I'm like, if somebody does something and they have facts and trials and tests and studies to back it up, I'm,
Yeah.
prone to
Let's pay
believe it. I
attention to
just,
that.
yeah, I don't.
Let's honor that.
There's something. And PK, do you feel like this too? I feel like there's something that's happening within our society where there's a huge distrust, and a dangerous distrust in government and the powers that be. and unfortunately it's having a negative effect on us in ways like this. And as you know, I didn't want to say during the interview like what side I was on, but clearly I'm like pro fluoride and water. Like there's studies and proof in
Right.
it. And so
Well,
like do you feel that? Do you sense that?
oh,
Like
absolutely. Well, as you know, campaigning and what I just finished going through, I definitely do because it's just even why I wanted to stay away from the word politician, and I wanted people to just refer to me as a public servant when I was campaigning for commissioner in the city of Miramar, is because of those negative connotations that people have when it comes to politicians: greedy, selfish, not really for the people, special interests, can be swayed based on financial gains and all of these different things, and which a lot of them are true. You know what I mean? And then even when you get people who want to do good, like in this case, the mayor, and she's already appointed, she's in there, but she got her head knocked over by the state. You know what I mean? With the bill. So it's really tough. It's just really tough for an average person to really kind of process all of these different nuances, that make up our law or that make up decisions that, we have to now live by or stuck with. So yeah, I totally get it.
yeah,
And
and
it's
I
not
brought
getting
this up.
better.
Yeah, I was like, how do they get to decide this for people?
Yeah.
Like, this is our health, and that whether you're for or against, I feel like for us I feel like that should have been a decision that the Florida voters decided versus legislators. Like,
Sort of
I
like
don't.
just like the yes on three with the marijuana and
Yeah, like I feel like it should have been a amendment or something that the people decided what they wanted.
Mhm.
Or like she said, what were the studies? Where's the surveys of people? Like, is there outcry from the majority of Florida residents who
Yeah.
said take this out? Like, who decided that this was a thing and that we needed to do this? And that's always interesting. And I'm going to dig more into it. Hilo News, we've been covering this issue, and to me, there's a wider conversation. And to your credit, Mayor Cava to me is one of the people who tries to educate her residents, her constituents, and say, hey, this is what it is, and break it down. Unfortunately, not everybody in positions of power like her have done this. And I think that's the reason why we're in the position that we're in. And I do think that education levels play into this as well. Like, to me, science and process of elimination and studies, like, that's a real thing. And when you have an uneducated population, they're easily manipulated by disinformation, by sociopaths who have a cult following or cult personality.
Yeah.
And this is where we end up, where there's a faction or a percentage of the population who doesn't have the education to deduce and make this and do decision making, and then we get stuck with things like this.
Yeah.
And I think that, for me, I don't know what the solution is and how we get there, but I'm like, people, we gotta realize like all of this stuff is connected. Like the quality of our public education affects how we engage civically, and it affects the policy that is passed from our lawmakers. It also affects who we vote for. Like, if you don't understand the key things and what you need to be looking for, if I could just come and preach good and make you feel good, I could get your vote, and you never really know what I'm actually doing. And unfortunately, a lot of politicians have done that, and now we don't have fluoride in our water.
Yeah. And just even now the access to information, I used to I think I was one of the biggest advocates for promoting Google actually because with my daughter, anytime she would ask me certain things, I would encourage her to like go and research and go and Google it because I would remember like when we had questions in my days, the only option you had was to climb up and pull down the encyclopedia. You know what I mean? The 20 volumes of the encyclopedia, and that wasn't even like a wealth of information. That was limited. And 90% of them didn't have pictures for you to even see, or now you have like tutorials, videos, this, that, all this information between YouTube and Google, where people could educate themselves, and yet and still, they allow people to deliver things to them and they choose to accept it, and it's when, Mayor Carver said, like, who you going to trust, your dentist, or you going to trust TikTok and a politician.
But also too, Google to a certain extent, if you don't understand like what's a trusted source and what's not, because you could Google and find the information that feeds the theory that you have or feed the information that you want to see. And so a lot of us live in these like echo chambers of like I want to see something bad, so like the algorithm will feed it to you, and then you could search for something until you want to see something that feeds the narrative that you want to have. And I think
Well,
that
yeah,
critical
you have a
thinking,
point. You have a point
yeah,
with that, but I mentioned Google over the other stuff because at least Google gives you options. Whereas if it's TikTok, it's whatever that was delivered to you, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? But you're right. Even with Google, you do have to be careful.
you got to
But
be smart enough to know like, do I trust the Washington Post or do I trust random blog that popped up
right,
a year ago? And
yeah,
and here's the unfortunately, I hate to be, a negative Nancy. I just think it's going to get worse before it gets better. Because here's the thing, these systems that were created to protect us and advance us, where it comes to like um, law or, scientific organizations and things like that, there have been examples of them with foul play. And so for people, the public, if I see this one or two things, or maybe a couple of things that you did that wasn't right, and we all know that, especially the Black community has a distrust in the medical field because of the Tuskegee experiment and the woman whose cells that they stole to do cancer research but never benefited the family and never told the family. Like we have this history of like medical distrust, and so it's easy for our community to be like, I don't trust this, and valid. The reverse of that is we could be easily swayed when it comes to this. And I don't even think it's just a Black community thing. I think this is a United States thing because there's been foul play. There's been foul play where people say, I don't trust you. You guys do these secret things. It's crazy. I've like my new thing, a part of my morning routine is to watch Madam Secretary on Netflix. Like, and so I'm watching that before we got on, and it's like these covert operations and these secret things and these double agents, and and it's like it's so much conspiracy and things that are secret and things that have been done that keep the public in the dark or that have been foul play that contributes to this as well. And to
yeah,
me, I'm like, it's a product of your own thing. This system that the United States has created, to me, it's a result of that. Like
yeah,
you can't do bad over here and be like, well, these 5 things weren't good, but these 5 are. Please trust us when we say don't do this. And they're telling the truth. But then how do you can't get people to trust you that way? And even with the mainstream media, let's not act like there's not been cultural bias, racism in the
yeah,
play on how people have reported at mainstream newspapers. If you even dig back in the archives at the Miami Herald, you'll see racist headlines or racist articles. So it's like, how do I trust you now that you're telling me this is a thing? And I think it's just a byproduct or a result of systematic racism and oppression and power and control that now has gotten out of control because everybody has access to information at their fingertips and they're moving however they want to move. And unfortunately, to me, because of this push of like fluoride is bad, just bringing it back to this, you're easy to get support because even in my comment sections, it was split. It was people who were like, take that shit out, and other people like keep it. And I'm like,
right, okay.
who, like this is the result of it. Like, what are your thoughts on it? Like, as far as like, where do we go from here?
Well, listen, it's so funny because you talked about certain trusted sources and how you get your information and stuff like that, and I'd be remiss if I don't mention like why people really need to tap in with like Hilo News. You know what I mean? Where it really connects with you specifically, because you remember even with the mayor talking, she talked about how this affects Black and Brown people overtly, more than others. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it may be swept under the rug for other people who think, well, this doesn't affect my community as much. But then for us, we need an advocate to stand up and say, hey, this affects us the most. You know what I mean? And this may be me going into a different tangent, but part of my frustration with that is that I believe sometimes us as a people, we put energies into the wrong things at times. You know, we make things our issue that doesn't need to be our issue, and it causes us to take away from things that are specifically our issue that I believe we should be spending our time, energy, and money on battling or figuring out or even having discussions about it. You know what I mean? So uh that's my take on it is like even though hey, um there's all this information, yay or nay, how is the information as it pertains to me and my people? Because there is a difference. You know what I mean? And me, your fiance and I, we're coming from that level of education of knowing that when we physically grew up in New York, there was fluoride, and we had relatives that came from England, and we saw with our own eyes that their you know what I mean their teeth were deteriorating based on not having the fluoride. So I can't unlearn or
Wow.
think that that's what I experienced. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm gonna go on, and that's where I will now step in and talk to our audience and say, listen, that's why I'm for it. You know what I mean? Because of that experience that I actually had.
And here's the thing, I think that's unfair, especially when it comes to health decisions. I feel like it gets a little murky and tricky when it becomes law to do XYZ thing because as I was saying, it's a win for people who don't want it. But if I want it, I have no choice. And Mayor Cava jokingly said, "Well, you got to, move to a place that has it." But it's like, what? Why does that person who's pro keeping it lose a decision in it? I wish it was a way to say, hey, this is a choice. Either if you don't want it, do this. If you want it, do this. It's kind of like all or nothing. And I'm like, it just feels kind of unfair. It really does feel unfair. And ain't nobody a chemist. You can't go in your house. I wish it was some type of filter, like how you could filter water and stuff like that. Like I wish it was a
Yeah, I
filter
was
for
thinking it's
fluoride.
so funny when you said that. I was thinking like I'm sure Britta gonna come up with something.
Because at this point, but the telling thing that she said, and I can almost bet this is probably going to happen, that she said places that took the fluoride out, put it back in.
Mhm.
And and like I said, they're going to do it because they're going to see the effects of it. But unfortunately, people are going to have health issues because of this moment in time. And like she
Well,
said, more than
listen,
likely, DeSantis is going to sign it into law.
and on that note, you boy, you gave me an alley oop. I was just about to say we got a gubernatorial race coming up, so it's going to be important to even ask whoever are candidates for governor,
Absolutely.
what's your take on it? You know, because like if you against it too, that may sway me wanting to give you my vote versus somebody that's for it and understands the importance. So these are questions that we need to line up and be prepared to ask people who looking for that governor seat in Florida coming next year.
No, definitely. That's definitely one of the major things that needs to be talked about. And then also too, like this to me, I understand like the two-party system and all this other stuff. There are issues in Florida and South Florida that like cross party lines, like issues about home insurance and climate change and hurricanes and things like that, development, housing, public education, and like these are the things that regardless on where you sit on whatever side of the spectrum of political ideology, everybody wants, to have a decent rate for homeowners insurance.
Yeah.
People deserve quality and affordable housing. Like this is everybody wants this, a health care and access to certain things. And I'm interested to see whoever, honestly, to me, a Republican candidate who is talking about these things could definitely win over Democratic votes or independent votes if they're like championing these things because they're real issues. I feel like in this last election, like to your point, we
Mm.
were like, it was like, come look at this thing. Oh, this person is a bad person and we need to be against this, this presidential candidate. And nobody was talking about real issues. And people said, to Trump's credit, even though now we see he's not really following through with a lot of things, his talking points, but he's like, I'm going to lower this. I'm going to do this. Like he was talking about specific things that were affecting everyday people. And I'm interested to see what governor gubernatorial candidate does that. I've been hearing chatter about Jason Pizzo, Byron Donalds, of course, is already out there. There's other candidates. There was even chatter at one point about Mayor Cava. I don't know if that's still a thing, but I'm interested.
Chevron
Oh,
Jones,
yeah, Senator Jones,
and
Senator
then
Jones.
DeSantis' wife.
Oh yeah, but I
It's
think that's
murky for
dead.
her right now.
With all that
It's murky
scandal.
waters for her right now. They ain't letting
I'm
up.
interested to see how they campaign because I think the person who campaigns on real issues that affect Florida residents has the best shot of winning, regardless on what party
Especially at this point,
affiliation.
to your
Yeah,
point. Mhm.
I think people are just I think they're tired. And I would tell people, I hate to say this, but I'm gonna be a little bit elitist right now, but smart people, educated people, people who are knowledgeable, just hunker down and have some solutions for your family. I really do feel like it's going to get worse before it gets better because of the current education system, disinformation, how like the way things are, and people are so apathetic as well, like they don't trust the system and they don't participate civically. Like you even saw it in your race, like where it's what, like 100,000 people that live in Miramar, but
Mhm.
like
For you.
8,000 or something like that vote. Like that's
Yep.
fucking crazy, you
7%.
know?
Yeah.
So how do
It's
you,
crazy.
it's like a small percentage of people who are civically engaged and everybody else is just like, whatever, I don't care.
Mhm.
And it's just this apathy. I don't know what the solution is to change that, but until that happens, we see more of this.
Yeah. That's a whole nother topic that we'll get into, and I'm sure we discussed it in the opening, but we are excited to come back with that podcast. Um, we launched Juneteenth last year, so we're gonna bring back season 2, series 1 for Juneteenth. So we'll announce the date and all the fanfare, but we're happy to get our palates wet on this special edition with the mayor.
No, definitely. We had to come out for this one and like it just, pop out a little bit for y'all to have this
Pop out of the
conversation.
show. Oh man, and you know what? I did a podcast the other day, JT, but I told them I couldn't get too deep because they wanted to find out like what's my next plans, and after,
For
and I
real?
said no, I got to save that for my own podcast. So you know, so I'm also looking forward to talking about what I've learned, in that journey of campaigning,
I cannot
running for that
wait.
commissioner seat in Miramar, and then what my next plans are. But you got to stay tuned to that part podcast. That'll definitely be an exclusive for us.
Yes, I cannot wait. Like it's so much stuff that has been popping off, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this has been a great conversation for that
I
part.
know, I
But
know. We might even have another special edition before the show started in June. So hey, listen, things be happening here. So we'll see.
definitely. Well, this has been a great special edition episode. It's always great to talk to you and have these conversations
Likewise.
about
I
what's
missed
going
you
on.
too. How many times I
Oh,
text you? I miss.
I miss you too. I
I
know.
know.
I
I can't
haven't seen
wait.
you in a minute.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I really can't wait until we launch the show again. Man. I'm excited for this
No,
second season.
definitely. So, in the meantime, in between time, how can people follow you and see what's going on with you until we jump back into the season?
Absolutely. You can hit me on my personal social media handle at Papa_Keith. That's PAPA_KEITH. Please follow Just Vote Period as we continue to advocate for democracy, getting our younger audience. When we say younger, we say between the ages of 16 and 45 registered to vote. We have a plan on registering a big number of voters for our gubernatorial election. So please help us out with that by following us on the gram. And please go to the website, justvoteperiod.com. And last but not least, you can also follow my next moves and me just advocating for the community at PK, the number 4, the people on Instagram as well. Janey, tell them all about my favorite South Florida hyperlocal news.
Well, you guys know you can follow Hilo News at HYLONEWS on all social media platforms. Sign up for our email newsletter at HiloNewsMiami.com. We have exclusive content for our loyal followers. We now have our hard news reporter just starting with us, Tori Brown. So shout out to her. Shout out to our managing editor, Derica. Who's also our producer for that podcast. But our editorial team is growing. Our freelancers are doing a dope job right now. So if you've been looking at Hilo News, you see us kind of digging in a little bit more. That's always been the plan, but now we have the coins to actually do it. So shout out to all of our grant partners who allow us to do that work. So follow us on those platforms. And if you care about what I'm doing personally, you can follow me at Janey Tate, JANEYTATE, on any social media platform. Yeah, this has been a great episode. I can't wait to get back into the thick of things and
Me too.
talking
But I would say if you need your fix of Janey, and my second favorite podcast in the world right now is Can We Talk? So please tap in with Janey where she breaks down things again on a South Florida hyperlocal tip. Her podcast, Can We Talk? I love it. It's engaging. And you know what I really like too? Like we get this side of you here on that podcast, and then we get another side of you and Can We Talk? And I love it. You know, you'd be like, girl. It's like more animated, and I really have that appreciation for that side of you as well. So it's a great balance. So
I be trying not to do too much over here. I be trying to stay a little professional, you know.
Yeah. But when I want to get that, I go over to Can We Talk? I love that.
I'm a little bit unhinged over there. I drink wine when I do that show. I don't drink.
It's a vibe though. I like it. Keep it up. It's a vibe. I literally like it.
Coming from you veteran in media, that makes me feel good because I'm like sometimes I'll be like, did you just say that? But I really don't care over there. I'm gonna tell it as honest and truthfully. And also too, something else that I picked up on is that people were interested in some of the drama of politics, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm the standing at Wendy Williams energy of politics and covering meetings and things like that. And I'm like, if that's going to help people get interested in what's going on, then let's do it. Like at this point, like we said, people just aren't engaged and aren't informed. And so we just got to meet them where they are. So if they want a little bit of razzle dazzle with it, because I took one episode, they came there to see me talk about Jason Pizzo and all the drama that was going on with him. He told the people on the house floor to suck it and drop the mic like a rapper or whatever. It was fucking hilarious. But before I even got into that, I was like, well, let me talk to y'all about flood insurance and this report that I saw on the Miami Herald and how that's affecting homeowners and affecting people's ability to buy or sell a home and things that aren't disclosed to you. And the article was amazing. I didn't know.
Such an amazing article. I watched that episode. So good. And then the lack of information that they give you for making the biggest purchase in your life usually is your home, and you can't even get a record of, floods and this and that is crazy. So and that's to my point. That's why it's my second favorite podcast besides this one, because like I learned so much from it, and your delivery in it is really authentic and dope.
No, I appreciate
that. Was good.
that. Thank you so much. And like now, this show allows me to get interviews like with Mayor Cava. Like they're not coming on my podcast, but I get to interview. I'm not gonna say that because she actually has done my podcast before. Not her, but I'm just saying that caliber of a politician. I can do that through this platform, and I'm appreciative of you sharing this space with me.
Oh yeah, and we're gonna have we're gonna have some, if not all, of the gubernatorial candidates, for season 2 starting in June. So y'all get ready for it.
I cannot wait. Byron Donalds? Are you? I want to talk to him.
That. Well, people already think that's my boy. But fun fact, we actually grew up just a few blocks from each other in Brooklyn. He's from the same area I'm from. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, an area called Crown Heights, which actually, funny enough, is mixed between Blacks, Latins, and Hasidic Jews.
Wow, that's so effing random.
Yeah, so the irony of, it's just like if the governor was from Carol City, you'd be like, what? Like
I know. I'd be like, so what about your political views?
I know, right?
Who you at? Who
Like
you
I
at
know you're a
period?
Trumpster, but damn, you from Crown Heights.
Look, we've had conversations about this offline, but just to bring this up, sometimes it takes going across the aisle, being diplomatic and figuring out, can we have
Absolutely.
common ground, and being cool with somebody because of one thing doesn't mean you okay and are go with everything that they stand for.
Exactly, but that's some of the issues that I have, and I won't get too deep into it now. With the Dems, you know what I mean, and it shouldn't be that way. And I made an analogy the other day that I hope will stick with people. If Bruce Jenner could wake up one morning and be like, you know what, I feel like being a girl today, and we have to honor that, and we have to do his, she, her, and all these different things. If I wake up and I decide, like, hey, I want to be a Republican today. I want to see what it's like. I want to have that experience. Why should I be like the worst person in the world? You know what I mean? So
that's a wild analogy.
but sometimes it takes these wild analogies to get people attention and to get people to try to understand what you're trying to say.
Some people in the community may say that you're born that way and it wasn't a choice, but Bruce Jenner is a controversial one, because I heard the trans girls don't even fuck with her like that.
Right, but that's to my point. That's to my point that you were born this way and you made that decision. Okay, I'll call you by that. I respect your decision. It doesn't make you a bad person. So that's the point more so I'm trying to make.
That part.
Like, okay, like, hey, I may have sat down to talk to Byron Donalds, but does that mean I don't go and serve the seniors and do the food drives and help out the kids in the community? I'm still that person. You know what I mean? I think I'm old enough and I'm allowed to speak to whoever I want for, to gain whatever I need to gain and understand whatever I need to understand about that. And I just don't like this whole like gang mentality.
It's a very all or nothing type.
Yeah, and I don't like that. I refuse. Like you can call me what you want. You can say what you want. I'm not buying into that.
And I'm gonna say I had a talking point that I wanted to say, but I'm like, I feel like that should be a special edition episode or what we talk about, because I have some thoughts around it and I see both sides. But Black people, let's just act like ain't nobody really been 100% for us. So being on both sides really wouldn't be a bad thing for us. I'm just saying to get what we need from each side. I mean, because ain't nobody really for us, for real.
Not screwed into this arm, I would drop it right now. I would drop that shit right now. Really Thank you. On that note, Janey, always a pleasure, always an honor, Queen.
Same here. Do I call you King back? Like,
nah, I don't want to get in no trouble, man. With PK is just fine.
QP.